All right, I guess we'll get this show on the road. Thanks for dropping by. My name is C.T. Moore. I'm going to introduce myself quickly without trying to be too self-promotional. I work for an agency called NVI. We specialize in SEO and in social media campaigns. I'm also a blogger, a staff editor at Revenues, which is an online marketing blog with a focus on affiliate marketing. And today I'm going to be talking to you about enterprise SEO for social publishers. In all honesty, I didn't know how many buzzwords I can cram into such a short title, but that's pretty much what I worked out. What I pretty much want to help you all do is develop a roadmap for any kind of publishing site, whether it's a blog or a newspaper, but something that's big, something that produces a lot of traffic, and something that's really geared towards bringing in visitors and converting them in one way or another. So let's get rolling. So what are the goals of a publisher? You have audience and page views. So you want people to see your content, first and foremost, but you also want to convert them to a certain degree. You want them to become registered users or subscribers, whether they're paid subscribers or they just register, but you want to know that they're going to be coming back and they're not fly-by-nights. And of course, you want to monetize that content in some way, whether you're placing ads, whether you're trying to refer those users onto an affiliate offer, or whether you're actually just trying to generate leads that you can sell or monetize in some other way somewhere down the road. Of course, the world of publishing, especially online, is oversaturated, and there's a couple different challenges that I think pretty much every online publisher faces to a certain degree. The first one would be acquisition, getting those users in from the get-go. Let's face it, we all have really short attention spans between Twitter and Facebook and RSS feeds and whatever our homepage is. The next challenge is conversion. Like once you get them there, what do you do with them? How do you make sure that they become a user rather than just a fly-by-night page view? And finally, it's retention. Once you convert them, once you've turned them into a subscriber or a registered user, how do you keep them there? Because it's hard enough to get someone to sign up for a site. It's even harder to make sure that they keep coming back. So there's two ways we're going to look at that. The first is through SEO, which is geared really more towards, I guess, acquisition and conversion. And the second is social, which kind of looks at, in my opinion, looks at all three: acquisition, conversion, and retention. And I think social media is the most important for retention in this regard. So I'm going to start off with the SEO stuff. I'm going to go from basic to more complex. And the reason I'm going to start off a little bit basic, and it's probably going to be stuff a lot of you guys know, is because it's going to provide context for when I get into some of the little bit more advanced SEO. And then I'll get onto the social once I've covered all of that. And the kind of social I'll be going into is geared very much towards, I guess, an SEO mandate. And if at any point I'm squinting, I'm sorry, the lights are bouncing off my glasses. So let's start with the basics of SEO. We're talking about page indexation. When it comes to your on-site SEO, there's three fundamental core elements. There are your page titles, your meta descriptions, and your meta keywords. Your page titles are pretty much going to show up in a number of places. It's going to show up in the browser bar that the user sees. If they're tab browsing, it's going to show up in the title of their tab. But most importantly, it's going to be what appears in search results. This is going to be the title of any given page that's been indexed by Google or by Bing or by Yahoo, if they even still exist. The next set of area you want to look at is your meta descriptions. And this is going to be a description of your page. And this is a place where, here to jump back to the page title. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. So your page titles are important because this is the first place where you're going to send a keyword message to the search engines. This is going to be your first place to tell search engines, this content is relevant for these sets of keywords. But you only get a handful of characters. You get 65 characters to work with here, which isn't a lot. And generally, you're probably going to want to fit your site or your brand name in there. So you're going to want to choose your one or two most highest traffic keywords that are most relevant to the content and run with that. When it comes to elaborating on those keywords, that's where the meta descriptions are going to come in. So the meta descriptions really offer you two value propositions, for lack of a better term. The first is to elaborate on keywords, but more importantly, this is where you get into a call to action. When things appear in search results, there's a little bit of text under with each, well, there should be some text with each search result, and that's where you get to tell users what your content is all about. So you've optimized a page for a certain keyword. If you don't give the user a good, strong, powerful meta description to something to pull them through, they're never going to click through. And then, of course, there's the meta keywords. A lot of people still think these are relevant. Well, they're not. Forget about it. Anyone who's telling you, oh, yeah, you got to write meta keywords for a page, don't even listen to them. The major search engines haven't indexed these since, I believe, 2005. So when it comes to your on-page SEO, all you're really going to care about is your page titles and your meta descriptions. So let's talk about those. If you're a big publishing site, there's a number of places these are going to appear. They're going to appear on index pages. They're going to appear on the different categories of your content. And when I say categories, I'm talking about like the core taxonomy of your content. To give you an example, if you're a newspaper, your categories are going to be, probably politics, business, sports. These are the core areas of your site that define how you roll out your content strategy. They're also going to appear on articles and posts. Every article or post that you publish should have its own page title and should have its own meta description, and I'm going to get into a little bit about that on how you shouldn't just let the search engines grab whatever's on the page. And then, of course, there's your other, auxiliary or tertiary pages, stuff like your About Us, your Contact Us, your privacy policy, or if you are running like a serious affiliate-heavy publishing site, you're probably going to have pages that feature products or that funnel traffic through somewhere else. So these are other pages where they're going to appear. Now, of course, when you are dynamically publishing, you do have to worry about something, and that's duplicate content. So I'm pretty sure who in here has ever used blogging software? Can I see a quick show of hands? So let's say about 80% of you. And I'm going to assume that if most of you are sitting here, you use some content management system of some kind. You can assign a piece of content to many places. You can assign it to more than one category. You can tag it, and it's going to appear on your index and homepage possibly, but it's also going to appear in category pages. And here's where you can really confuse search engines, because if they're finding the exact same article in multiple places, they don't know what to do with it, and they don't understand where that content belongs. In the worst case scenario, you might even get penalized for spamming the search engines. Now that's probably unlikely if you have a decent site, but you still want to make sure that if you have for example, if you have an article all about pet products, that the search engines understand that it belongs in a category that's related to pet products, and it doesn't just it's not the core focus of your homepage if your site isn't about pet products. And you also have this problem with tags. So you have your core taxonomy, you assign things to categories, then you throw in, idiosyncratic tags, names of people that are featured in the article, names of specific products. And if anyone clicks on one of those tags, you can also pull up these articles. So how do you make sure that you don't confuse the hell out of Google? Well, that's why I was talking to you about titles and meta descriptions. Now, what you want to make sure is that every page, dynamic or static on your site, has a unique title and a unique meta description that is relevant for the keywords that you think that piece of content should be ranking for. But you also want to use a few other tactics. On your index page, you're probably going to want to use excerpts, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. In areas like categories and tags, you're going to want to provide some unique static content on each page to differentiate the page. And you might also want to consider taking entire sections of your site and telling the search engines not to index them whatsoever. And I'll get into why that's not ludicrous in just a second. So this is what excerpts look like. Right now we're looking at the homepage of a search engine marketing blog, Search Engine Land. It's one of the bigger ones. And you'll notice that the homepage has headlines and just, maybe 100 words, 250 characters, but not much. And why do you do this? Well, simple. If I had all my articles appearing from most recent to least recent on my homepage in their entirety, well, now that article appears on my homepage. It appears in whatever categories it happens to be filed under, and it also appears, most importantly, on the article page. Well, you don't want that happening. So anywhere that is not the article page, you want the stuff showing up to be in excerpt format. Ideally, You should write a special unique excerpt that's completely separate from the content to appear here. But if you're producing at a high volume and you don't have time to do that, you can get away with just instructing WordPress or whatever CMS you're using to scrape the first X amount of characters. There's a lot of CMSs and WordPress themes that do that straight out of the box, and it's not all that much really rocket science. Where things get really fun though is where you get into the static content. Now, so if I assign an article under two different pages, if I assign an article under two different categories, and it's the most recent article I publish, if I click on category 1, it'll be at the top of the page. If I click on category 2, it'll be at the top of the page. So how do you tell Google that this is not duplicate content? Well, you give every dynamic page, such as a category and tag, a little bit of unique information. The first piece of unique information you want to give them is a unique H1 tag, so a header tag. Here you and a good tip for giving something a unique H1 tag is look at your page title for that category or for that feed and shorten it down. So you have 65 characters to work with a page title. That might look really awkward as a category title, so just shorten it down. In this case, we're looking at a local newspaper magazine, and we're seeing their food section. So this is all their content that can be filed under food, and you see right there the big, bold H1 food, Vancouver food and dining. But then you also want to throw in a little bit of unique content underneath that. And the reason you want to do this is so that if the same articles are appearing under different sections of the website, there's a buffer between where those articles show up and where the page begins. So you get a unique header tag and you get a unique chunk of content. Ideally, that content, that paragraph, best case scenario, search engine optimization purposes should be 250 words. However, that's a lot of space. It's a lot of real estate, and it's going to push a lot of stuff below the fold. So in that case, I'd also suggest maybe taking your meta description, which is about 150 characters, and flushing it out to twice that. 300 characters is probably what we're looking at here. It's not that much. It won't take up too much real estate. But if you have a 150 character meta description and you flush that out to double the length, it's not going to be completely duplicated from the meta description, and you'll end up with a decent piece of unique static content on the site. But then, depending on how many categories and how many tags you might have under your site, you might want to just tell the search engines to ignore the ones that aren't your core areas. So between categories, tags, authors, your date archives, and your subpages, there's a lot of different places that content can get duplicated. So what do you tell search engines to ignore? I would actually go with this. Everything in red, in my opinion, is something you should probably gloss over. There's exceptions depending on what you're trying to achieve with your site, but your categories are your core taxonomy. They make up, I guess, the blueprint or the skeleton of your website, so you want that stuff to be archived. But tags they're ever expanding, they're ad hoc, there's people names, there's location names, idiosyncratic things that have to do with very specific articles that you're not really trying to rank for. Same thing with your authors. If you have multiple authors, you can have that author's content appearing under your index page, you can have it appearing under a category, but you can also have it appearing under their byline. Well, so unless you're running with some pretty high profile authors and you want to get found when people Google that author, you should probably tell the search engines to not bother indexing your author pages. And finally, there's your date archives. Now, date archives are more of a usability navigation thing. Someone's looking for something by date, but you know what? I doubt that anyone is trying to rank for things like, I don't know, pet articles on January 31st, 2009. It's extremely cumbersome, so you should probably no index that altogether. So how do you go about doing that? Well, there's a variety of ways. First, you can drop a little chunk of code into the head area of your source code, where you just tell robots to no index that content. Ignore the content. Most the top tier search engines will respect this. Of course, you got the spammy spiders who go around scraping content. They won't, but there's not much you can do about them. They're everywhere. But you can also no-follow links to these places. No-follow links to author content, no-follow links to tag content. And what is a no-follow link? It's pretty much like putting a condom over a link. The search engines are just going to gloss it over together. They'll come, they'll hit the link, they'll see it's no follow, they won't bother clicking on the link and seeing what's on the other side. And there's one more other way you can make sure that search engines ignore that, and this is all pretty basic, and that's in your robots.txt. Literally, if you go to any domainname.com.co.uk and put in /robot.txt, you're going to find a .txt file that'll probably look like something similar to this. And this is where you can tell the top tier search engines to ignore certain subfolders of your site. In this case, I'm showing tags, archives, authors, etc. So you have 3 ways to tell search engines to pretty much ignore this duplicate content. So this is all pretty beginner stuff. Where I want to get into the fun stuff, and that's restricted content. So you're trying to monetize content, you're trying to convert users into you're trying to take web traffic, convert it into register users with your content. And that's kind of hard when you give it away for free, you know? They come, they get what they want, they're gone. They have no incentive to sign up, provide an email. They have no incentive to click through or do anything. So you can restrict the content. You know, you can show them an excerpt, they click on read more, they gotta log in. Well, there's pros and there's cons to this. The most salient pro is user acquisition. The con is, one, search engines can't get in to index it, and probably the second biggest one is conversions. How many of you are really going to register for a piece of free content if you can find something very similar somewhere else for free? And what you end up with is a walled garden. You've heard of paywalls, you've heard of walled gardens. It's pretty much where content's hidden behind these walls. And this is what it looks like. Nobody comes through because the search engines haven't indexed that, and the people who do stumble on your site by some fluke, very few of them will actually click through. Now, Rupert Murdoch, who owns News Corp, has done this with a number of his sites, most specifically the Times and the Sunday Times of London. So he erected paywalls in June 2010. By November, his traffic had collapsed by 90%, and his uniques had dropped from 3 million to 200,000. Can you imagine? This guy thought he could beat Google, and he's pretty much choked himself off. But that's not the only thing he did it with. He did it with Variety.com. Here you're looking at a graph from 2010. Right about where the graph dives off, that is June. And then it trickles down to people stop coming altogether because they don't want to pay for that content. So whether you're trying to get people to register for free content or pay for it, you're in a bit of a hard spot. So how do you deal with that? Well, Google offers something called First Click Free. This has been around for years, but it's surprising just how many people are unaware of it. First Click Free serves 2 main purposes, and I'll read them for you, even though they're up there. The first is to include highly relevant content in Google's search index, and the second is to provide promotion and discovery for publishers with restricted content. So it sounds jargony, it sounds official. This is how it works. You block all your content with a registration block. If someone comes to your site directly and they want your content, they have to register for it. But you let in Google. Google indexes everything. All your content shows up in search results. If someone finds your content through a search result, they get the first click for free, meaning that if they click on the search result, you have to give them the full article for free. If they want additional articles, that's when they got to register. So now you've given them something. They came through, they got what they wanted, they're like, wow, this content rocks, I want more. They go to click on the next relevant article, there's something they see in the sidebar, or they try to navigate back up to your homepage or to one of your subcategories, and that's when you hit them with a registration block. You're like, hey, log in. But something else you can do is you can let in up to 5 clicks. So this way, you know, if a user keeps finding your content over and over, and that's 5 clicks in a day, they might keep stumbling on your content, at which point they'll actually register. But overall, chances are is they're more likely to register if they've already gotten some content they like. And what you end up with instead of a walled garden is somewhat of a public park. Anyone can come in because they can find it, but you're asking for a little bit of who they are. Now, it might sound a little bit unorthodox that, I was skeptical at first, really. If I get a free article and then I'm asked to register, will it really work? Well, I guess it depends on the kind of content. I want to talk about a case study, specifically a WebMD property called theheart.org. They don't charge for their content's free, but if you want it, you got to register it. But they had a problem getting indexed by search engines, so they decided to implement First Click Free, Within a week, their registrations doubled, and they've remained at that doubled rate ever since. So it works. Now, it works for them because they're doing niche content. They're doing cardiovascular stuff. If you Google the cardiovascular condition and you found one of their articles, chances are, if you are not medically trained, you're not going to understand their article. It's really intensive, heavy stuff. But for people looking for that content, once they find something quality, they're willing to register. But something else that's also important to realize about this is that they made registration free. I mean, no, I would never advocate charging people for a subscription like Rupert Murdoch did. I'm not saying it can't work. I'm just saying chances are it's not going to work. And if you're an affiliate and you want to bring people in on content so you can refer them, you're making your money on the referral. Why try to make money on subscriptions? And in terms of offering them a little bit of an easier way to register to increase your chances of conversion, this is where the social media comes in. So when it comes to social media and enterprise level publishers, I see it in three different approaches. The first is social media for SEO/syndication. The next one is social media for conversion, and that's when we'll come back to the first click free. And then, of course, there's the social intelligence, which I'm sure a lot of you could probably guess where I'm going with that. But let's start with the SEO stuff. So there's two ways to do social media for SEO/syndication. And the first one I want to talk is actually proactively promoting your content through social news sites. This isn't rocket science, and it's nothing new, but sites like Dig and Reddit, Propeller and Mix, Reddit grew something like 250% in the last year. It's really up there. So pretty much you get your content featured on sites where users are part of a trusted community, and you get to drive traffic back to your sites. Now, it's not all that simple. You don't just publish your same old content and submit it to Dig and spam Reddit and hope it works. You actually need to have an objective. You need to understand your target audience, and you need to come up with a coherent content strategy. So let's remove all that jargon. So you want to reach men or women of this age, of this income bracket. So you look at all the different content sites out there. You look at Dig, you look at Reddit, you look at StumbleUpon, and you figure out where is my content most likely to be successful here. And then you move on to the content strategy. What kind of content do I have to produce? So when you promote your content through these sites, you're not actually going after your core content. You're actually going to develop a little bit of a side content strategy or a side editorial guideline. And what I mean by that is you got to reconcile your traditional branded content, the stuff that you're pushing normally, with what these audiences want. Once you get them through to the site, you'll have a better chance of converting them. But if you're going out to someone else's community and saying, hey, come to my site, you got to give them something that they want. So you're going to have to reconcile your content, your traditional content strategy and your traditional branded content with what these users want, and you're going to have to develop this a little bit more edgy content that will bring them through. It's not that complicated, and it could be extremely successful if you're willing to do that. If you're willing to get a little bit into the sensational top 10 lists of crazy videos, crazy pictures, crazy instances, crazy celebrities, and you can probably find a way to do this with any niche of content, you can get some pretty good results. Let me tell you the story about a medium-sized hosting provider. Okay, so these guys are selling hosting. What business do they have on Dig or Propeller or Mix? Well, they want to drive more backlinks to their site, to build their overall domain authority so that they can overall rank better on key targeted terms. So they're a hosting company and they have a corporate blog, typical corporate hosting blog. Hey, we just bought a new data center. Hey, we just installed a bunch of new load balancers. Hey, here's our newsletter. Pretty boring stuff. But because they're writing about this stuff, they can find a way to reconcile their branded content with a little bit more sensational stuff. They provide an internet service. So they wrote an article about the internet that everyone can relate to, Facebook etiquette. So they did something like the top X amount of Facebook faux pas, and they went out and they pushed it on these social sites. 48 hours, 28,000 uniques to that one post alone. So not all these people are going to buy hosting, obviously, but that's 20,000 people in 2 days that just saw their brand name. Over 1 month, they got almost 60,000 uniques to that one piece of content. More importantly, next time the Google updated its PageRank, that single post had a PageRank of 3. Their entire blog has something like a PageRank of 3, but now a single post does. This is another page on their domain with some serious authority. That passes a lot of trust back up to their domain, which helps them rank on any targeted term they want to. So if you are like a serious focus enterprise level publisher that is regularly publishing, this is even more valuable to you because it'll be easier for you to reconcile, the keywords you're targeting with the kind of strategic content that you need to push across these sites. But then there's another way to attract backlinks, build your domain authority, and syndicate your content with social web. That's widgets. Again, this is not anything that's that new, but there is a bit more of a strategic way to do it. Anyone could build a widget that just pulls in their RSS feed and offer it, but who's going to take it? I got a blog. Why do I want to feature your blog on mine? Well, there's a way around it. But first of all, the widgets offer a number of advantages. Offsite syndication. If you do it right, you get your content featured on another site. That can lead in turn to referrals. People notice a widget on the sidebar, in the top navigation area, they might click on it. If you brand that widget, you get some added brand awareness. So even if someone doesn't click on it, if they start noticing that widget on related sites and then they actually end up on your site through a normal search query one day, they're that much more willing to trust your brand and convert into a registered user because they've seen your brand before. And of course, there's backlinks. Every time that widget is installed somewhere, it links back to your site. And you do that by not just, creating a JavaScript widget, because JavaScript doesn't pass any link juice, but you add a little text, HTML text link underneath it, including your brand name. So this will gain more backlinks to your site and give you some overall more authority. Now, of course, that raises the question, how do you actually get other people to pick up the widget? Why would they? What incentive would they have? Well, Club Med did it, and they did a very good job of it. For those of you who don't know, Club Med is a European vacations package company. They're similar to Sandals. They run affiliate programs, and they're a pretty big company. Well, they launched a blog, and the blog just featured, tips for traveling, new vacation packages they're offering. Nothing that is that sexy, but if they get it featured on other travel or other vacation sites, will catch people's eyes, especially when people are Googling around and landing on these other sites for, Tahiti travel reviews or Hawaiian deals. So they create an embeddable widget. They offer it in a number of different styles and designs so that, chances are a blogger can find one that pretty much blends in with their site but still stands out a bit. And then they approach a specific list of bloggers and they're like, listen, you install this widget, you'll have a chance to win a vacation worth 10 or 20 grand. You don't have to give away 10 or 20 grand worth of goods or services to do this. But right now, the bloggers have an incentive. What happens is over 50 bloggers installed this widget in their sidebar. That is 50 sites related to their niche that has this widget embedded in their sidebar with the text link underneath. Now, for those of you who don't know, it's great to get 100 links from 100 different sites. The more relevant that site is to the keyword you're trying to rank for and that you've optimized your on-site stuff for, the more juice those links are going to pass. So in this case, 50 travel bloggers are now linking back to Club Med. How cool is that? It leads to page rank increases, it leads to traffic, and a lot of those bloggers left the widget up long after the contest was over because it offered their users, a little bit of an added incentive. But now let's get into the more sexy social stuff where we really get into the retention part of the acquisition, conversion, and retention. And I want to talk about 3 aspects of social media here for publishers. The first one is network syndication. I hate the term. I just couldn't think of a better way to describe it. I'm not talking about syndicating it on other people's blogs. I'm talking about syndicating your content through other individuals' networks. Getting across other people's Twitter networks, getting across other people's Facebook networks. Because if they're sharing your content, and if you can give them an incentive to share your content, the people in their networks, their friends and their followers, are that much more likely to click through and come check you out because it's coming from a trusted source. But the social media at this level, you can also offer increased engagement, which leads to conversion. And this is where I'm going to go back to the first click free thing. Is that you can actually get people to sign up or sign in and log on. And finally, I think one of the most powerful advantages you have through using social media in this way is in the user data, and that's where the retention comes in. Here you're going to be able to better understand your audience, better understand your target user base, and you're going to be able to use that to craft all your marketing, both inbound and outbound. So let's get down to it. What is network syndication? Well, it's simply small things like this. Easy share buttons. Quickly share this on Facebook. Quickly share this on Twitter, retweet it, like it, share it, dig it, stumble it, whatever. Let them, at one click, just share it with whatever their network is, whatever community they like sharing with. We've seen these buttons everywhere. And on the user data front, I want you to look quickly at this chart. If you use social media APIs and you get people to register for your site with their social media logins, there's a lot of data you can have. Facebook Connect is huge right now. I'm sure you've all seen the buttons, register or log in with Facebook Connect. Well, if you log in with Facebook Connect, you're sharing a lot of data with that publisher. Facebook will, if someone has registered for your site, you will be able to, through Facebook Connect, you'll be able to see their name, their email, their photo, their profile URL, their birthday, their gender, their location, their social graph, and more. How many of your registered users have ever told you that much information? It's good enough to have an email address. You can, send them targeted emails, you can offer them deals, you can refer them, but you don't know anything about them. You don't know how to improve those click-through rates. But even logging in through Twitter, you can gain quite a bit of information. You can get their profile URL. With that, you can use tools to analyze their network and figure out what their network's about. What kind of content do you want to push over that network? But the same goes for LinkedIn, Google, and Yahoo. Yahoo gives everything away, by the way, which I find interesting, but still there's a lot of opportunity here to connect with your audience. And before I go into how you can actually use that, I want to talk specifically about Facebook Connect because it's the elephant in the room and it's the sexiest one. Facebook Connect offers, first and foremost, a registration and login where you can get that data. I sign up for sites all the time. My birthday is always January 1st because that is the first thing on the drop-down menu. Well, Facebook knows my real birthday because my friends know my real birthday, and I want my friends to know my real birthday because I want them to leave me wall posts to say happy birthday. They can't do that on January. Actually, for a while, Facebook, I did tell them my birthday was January 1st, and a bunch of people I met at conferences like this on New Year's Day all left me happy birthday messages on New Year's, and then I looked like a huge asshole. So that's the cool thing about letting people log in through Facebook Connect is you get real data. You really get to understand who the people are. But you also get to increase their user experience. One, you make it easy to register. One-click registration. Register for the site. Boom, I'm registered. Log into my site. Boom, I'm logged in. So I find your site through a search engine. I find an article. I read it. I try to proceed to a second set of articles, and I get hit with a registration block. But I can register with Facebook Connect. That's not asking very much of me. So I click once for the second article, and now I just got to click one more to get the article. It's a done deal. At that point, I get what I want, and you get what you want. I get the content I was looking for, and you have another registered user, and you have data on them. Yes?
But when you do that, well, it's very easy to get in. It's also very easy to get out. So if someone decides, I don't want to be connected, disconnect.
That's fine.
Whereas if they registered regularly, they just would stop coming to you and still have their data.
I'll get to how you can get around that in a minute, and I plan on leaving plenty of time for Q&A, and we can debate the merits of it. But you also, they're open graph, access to their network. You get a more robust profile of them, and with that, you can actually figure out how you're going to retain them, how you're going to keep them, and how you're going to get them to actually come back to your site and put in real data. Facebook Connect, we see it everywhere. Fan pages in the sidebar. The fan page is the first option, but if you can get them to log in, that's ideal. Here's some numbers that Facebook Connect first published when it first became the big thing. And I just want to share these because it kind of relays the opportunity to use it here. And some of this will address what you said. Lollapalooza, the band site. So what happened is before Facebook Connect really became, the Open Graph really became widely publicly available to anyone to just install a piece of code and run it, they ran it with a couple test publishers, big ones. Lollapalooza got 99% more page views, so they doubled their traffic. If you're running ads and on a CPM model, how awesome is that? Gawker, these guys know social media. They get it. They've been refining their editorial mandate and their content strategy for years. They've lost editors over it, but they just keep bringing their page views up and their uniques up. Well, when they piloted Facebook Connect, a 45% increase in registrations week over week. It's every week my registration's going up by almost 50%. I think that's impressive. And Juiced, the video sites, 30% more videos watched, 15% more comments on each of those videos, and 38% more friend invites. So let's break this down. 1, 30% more page views. 2, 15% more comments. Every time a piece of content gets more comments, search engines like it a little bit more. Your site has a little bit more updated content. Search engines trust it. They find it more relevant. It's more likely to rank. 38% more friend invites. That's leveraging someone else's user to pull in new users. Now, of course, that's not 38% more referrals, but it's still, it adds to your branding. But to go back to the retention question, this is where the social intelligence come in. Yes, once they register with Facebook Connect, they can easily leave. But once they register and you do get a glimpse into that data, you can do a lot of things with that data. First, you can devise a more coherent content strategy. So let's say you're producing 3 different kinds of articles across X amount of categories. You have news articles on these different categories, you have how-to articles on these different categories, and you have top 10 articles on these different categories. Now, you know the top 10 stuff gets the highest amount of search traffic, but it bounces. You know that the how-tos get the longest time on site, but they don't necessarily get all that much traffic. And the new stuff is kind of ephemeral and just keeps you. But do you really know the users who are logging into your site? Do you really want to know what resonates with them? What's keeping them? What are they sharing with their network? Well, if they're registering through Facebook Connect, you get a glimpse into that. And you can decide where to focus your content production. You know that if I produce these kinds of articles in these specific categories, I'll get this kind of result. And all of a sudden, it's a win-win because not only are you getting more traffic and more referrals, but your community that's grown around your content is getting what they came for. Also, it helps you sell ad space if that's what you're into. You get to go to advertisers and say, listen, this is the breakdown of my demographic. X% female, Y% male, these are their age, these are their income, these are their reach, so on and so forth. It makes it easier to sell. But it also gives you a glimpse into what kind of advertising you should be selling. You know, you're running a site based on, I don't know, tech news. So you've traditionally always gone after, let's say, hosting advertisers. But maybe you find out that, you know, these people love consumer electronics. So now you can go chase down consumer electronic people and say, well, my content resonates with them. Run a test campaign you'll see for yourself. And you're likely to get a better CPM, or if you're running on a CPA basis, a better click-through rate, because these are going to be the kind of ads that your users are actually interested in. But you also see new revenue opportunities. This is something that newspapers are starting to dabble with. They're playing with the Facebook Connect data, and guess what? Some newspapers are starting to run affiliate ads. Like, took them long enough, but they're able to get proactive. They have confidence in what makes up their audience and what resonates with their audience, and with that confidence, they're actually able to go out and proactively sell. It's a model called symbiotic editorial. I think the phrase has been around since about the 30s, but it's pretty much crafting content that will resonate strongly with your users around the consumption habits that they've proven to display. And once you have this data, this is where the retention comes in, because you can consistently publish content that is going to resonate with them. So they may or they may not come through and fill out more data directly into your database, into their profile on your site. But what they will do is they will stay registered users through Facebook Connect, or if you happen to bring them in through Twitter, and you can continue to pound them with content and keep referring them towards deals that are actually relevant and are going to show a little bit of a higher conversion rate. So that might have been a mouthful. I know my mouth's a bit dry. At this point, if any of you have questions, I'd love to take them. Do we have someone running around with a microphone or no? All right, so I'll repeat them. I'll start with Roy.
Someone signs in with Facebook Connect.
Yeah.
You get their email address?
You do.
So if you want to email them, you can?
That's right.
So now they sign in with Facebook Connect, you have the email address. Then they decide to disconnect. All that automatically goes away?
Well, you no longer have access to that, but you can pull it. You can once you've emailed them, you've been able to reach them.
Right, but once they disconnect, does that come out of your email?
Well, if they disconnect, I'd advise don't email them. Like, they lost you. If they've proactively disconnected, why chase down that user? They've said no matter how much of a quality content you've given me, I'm not interested. It's
But in essence, you no longer have their database. You don't have
well, you'll no longer have access to their social graph, but once you've been able to get their email address, well, yeah, you can manually copy and paste that. Facebook will not make it easy to export it, but you can go and get it. There's nothing stopping you. This gentleman over here.
This is more of an SEO question.
Yep.
But if
Okay, so the question is if you write an article and about a month later the article gets scraped in its entirety and republished somewhere, what do you do? If you want to go the conventional, I guess, business publishing route, you could send them a cease and desist. Chances are it'll probably get you nowhere. Often the scraper sites are hosted somewhere where, you know, local copyright laws aren't enforceable. It'll cost you too much. More often than not, I would say ignore it. If it has been a month, chances are Google has indexed it on your site first, which means that they are not going to rank in the search results. And if they do, they're going to rank hundreds of pages behind you. If you've done a good job of making all your categories indexable and, you know, using excerpts on category and index pages and providing strong content and avoiding your own duplicate content issues, there's a very high probability that the search engines will index it on your site first, in which case they know that it's your article and that they know if it turns up somewhere else it's been duplicated, so it will hurt the other guy and it won't hurt you. If you do have indexation problems, you do run a risk of actually not getting credit for your own article, but that's why you want to do your on-site SEO as thoroughly as possible. Yep. Right. If you do want to duplicate someone else's content, but you don't want to get penalized for it, there's something called a canonical tag. This is used by a lot of big publishers that let's say TechCrunch. We have TechCrunch in the US, we have TechCrunch in the UK. They'll share articles back and forth, right? Same company, why shouldn't they? Of course, if TechCrunch UK publishes something first, and then TechCrunch US wants to republish it without getting, you know, penalized for scraping content, in the source code of that article page, they can put a canonical tag, and you can quickly Google canonical tag to see what it looks like. It's one line of code and just a few characters saying the original article is here. So you're telling search engines, yes, this isn't original content. I did take it, but look, that's where I took it from, so that way you don't get penalized. Anyone else? I have 15 minutes, so, oh, gentleman in the white shirt.
I'm gonna scream a little bit from back here. With affiliate networks, if you're an affiliate network and you have like a prepend on your URL, like a redirect for analytic purposes, and people are publishing your content, and it's redirecting to eventually to your domain, how do you suggest search engines will follow that link and be able to give you credit and juice for redirecting?
Well, okay, you're talking like a standard affiliate link? Yeah. Like, for example, I place it on my site, someone clicks on it, it redirects to, let's say, share a sale, and it ends up on the merchant site?
Correct.
Okay, for the most part, affiliate links tend to be, there's two kinds of redirections. There's 301s and there's 302s. The 301s are permanent redirections, the 302s are temporary. A permanent redirection will tell Google this page has been permanently moved over here. Any links or juice that has been built up, send it over there. 302 redirections are like, oh, this is just a temporary redirection. Ignore it. It's just for users. We'll get back to fixing it later. Most affiliate links are 302 redirections, so they're temporary. Even if they know most affiliate networks, they don't want to give you a 301 because then they're just helping the merchant build links, which is extremely problematic, and it leaks a lot of page juice from their own domain. Also, with affiliate links, the affiliate ID tends to make the link impotent. If you have 1 million affiliate links pointing to one page, yes, that's obviously going to help the page rank, but it's not going to have anywhere near the impact that 1 million normal links will. And if you only have a couple dozen or even a couple hundred affiliate links, it's not going to do anything for you. As you know, most affiliate links, they'll be like, say, shareasell.com/affiliate ID, and that'll include redirect instructions, and it'll send someone anywhere. But even if you're running an in-house affiliate program where it's pointing directly at merchantsite.com/affiliate ID, there's a question mark in there because it's a dynamic query. Any URL with a question mark, Google ignores it. Anything after the question mark becomes completely, Google knows that's an affiliate ID or it's a dynamic query. It won't pass juice generally. There are ways around that, and some affiliate softwares endeavor to support this, and I'm not going to drop names because I don't want to promote anyone. You could figure it out pretty quickly if you Google it, is instead of a question mark in the query, they'll use a hashtag. There is some evidence, though, that Google is onto that. And I guess what I'm getting to is, in a nutshell, is if you want to, if as a merchant, you want to turn your affiliate links into SEO, I wouldn't advise it, because if you're going to do that, if Google does catch you, they're going to penalize your site so bad you're going to wish you never thought of it. They'll bury you down to page 300, in which case you might as well have just been banned altogether. So the short question to your answer is affiliate links don't generally pass juice. One, because they tend to be, if they go through an affiliate network's redirect, the redirect's a 302. And two, if they're directly to the merchant, just the URL structure is not the kind of URL that Google will index.
I was wondering if you know a way to implement this first click free, maybe like on WordPress, for instance.
Yeah, well, what you can do is Google actually, if you go into Google Webmaster Central, they have pretty straightforward guidelines on how to do it. And if you Google around, like on WordPress, I haven't implemented it on WordPress specifically, but you can, a lot of WordPress themes will let you just show an excerpt of content and force users to register. I would recommend, and I've personally used it on some of my personal blogs, is there's a plugin called Simple Facebook Connect. So that will allow you to easily let users, if they want to drop a comment or if they want to see the first full article, they got to register. If you use Simple Facebook Connect, they'll be able to register with Facebook Connect. But if you actually go to Google Webmaster Central, they'll give you instructions on how to, it's a server-side thing though. And it's just pretty much where your CMS will not let people in. It will recognize the Google bot and will let the Google bot in or the Bing bot in. By the way, first click free is supported by Bing and Yahoo. It's not just Google that does it. But yeah, depending on your level of technical expertise, you might need to hire someone to do it, but it's not that complicated at all. And you can just get a quick tutorial through Google Webmaster Central. Yes?
I heard about Google News doing like a syndicated content meta tag. So like in a news story, if you're doing like a rewrite of it, you can put in a meta tag that where the article source is from.
Right.
That's like a best practice. I don't know if you've heard anything about it or they were testing it.
I don't have any first-hand experience with it. I do remember hearing about it. It sounds like, because Google has been doing a lot of things to discourage news sites from no indexing their content, like Rupert Murdoch has. And frankly, I think anything Google does is probably a win-win, because like if you look at Murdoch's traffic, it just suffered. It sounds similar to the canonical tag, being like, I syndicated this news content, the original's over there. I don't know if it's just off the top, I can't say if it's just literally another way of branding the canonical tag or if it's just very similar to the canonical tag, but that's Google News specific. Yes?
If you're rewriting or spinning content and submitting it to paid ad networks or article directories, is there a high chance that you could be penalized for duplicate content for that?
Well, if you're submitting the content somewhere else and it's not on your site, generally your site isn't something you have to worry about. The duplicated content is showing up somewhere else. There is a tool called Copyscape. They have a paid option that they'll tell you what percentage of the content is duplicated, and it's pretty interesting. So it'll help you like rewrite the exact same article a few times so it doesn't at all look like duplicated content, even though it says the exact same thing. But pretty much what will happen is the article site itself will suffer. Generally, article submission sites don't rank that well in Google. There are a few that will have a certain collection of articles that rank really well, but Google kind of knows what's up. And they try to discourage black hat link building, and article submission sites are very popular for that reason. So even if you do find a high quality article submission site that's not getting ignored by Google and that is ranking and or passing link juice, I'd really just run it through a tool like Copyscape. And so even though it might have the same 5 sections with the same 5 tips and the same focus, it won't be duplicate content because there's 1,000 ways to say the exact same sentence. Yep.
Do you think best practices for like Dave? We've tried to submit unique content there before and like had okay results and not many people dug it, but there seems to be like groups of people that are all friends, they all take each other's stuff and use it on a full-time basis. Is there companies out there too that you can, because they have such a following or maybe they have a good account that they'll take your new content for a price and get more exposure?
Absolutely. The first thing I want to say about that is ever since the dig changes a few months ago, the dig community has suffered. And that's why Reddit's growing so fast. So like if you are looking to push content, I would, based on like my personal experience in the last 3-4 months, I'd look more at Reddit. It's generating a lot more traffic. But yeah, whether it's Dig or Reddit or StumbleUpon, you will need access to, I guess, what's called power accounts. And these power accounts are they have tenure and seniority. So the Dig or Reddit algorithm trusts their submissions. But also, they have a lot of contacts. And with them, you can reach out to a lot of people. And it is a lot of I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And, hitting them up over MSN Messenger and being like, hey, would you mind digging this for me? Because they know that they can come back to you in 2 days and ask you to dig something. But yeah, you pretty much, because they're communities, you need access to other members in the community and you need access. There's guys that literally do nothing but maintain those accounts all day. It's something we do at NVI, is that we help people position on Dig because we've been very active in these communities for a long time. But yeah, you have a choice of either finding someone you can work with that can do it for you, or just getting active in the Dig community. If you start friending people and helping them out, you'll have to give more than you take in the beginning, but you can probably find in about a year's time you can develop a pretty respective and authoritative profile and pretty much accomplish that. But there is a time investment component to it. Anyone else? Yep.
Do sites with a lot of ads hurt their SEO ranking? And if so, does a site that has 0 ads on it have the best chance of success?
Well, generally, okay, here's the way to look at it. If you're running affiliate ads and they have their affiliate redirects or they have affiliate IDs in them, they're not, because every time you place a link on your site going outward, you leak some of your juice. That's why you want to get a link from a high page rank site, because it'll leak more. It's like a higher pressure, so if you pop a pinhole instead of a trickle, it's like a gushing stream. An affiliate, anything that's affiliate won't pass any juice, so if they're affiliate ads, you don't have to worry about. If the ads are being generated through JavaScript, they don't pass anything, you don't have to worry about them. If you are selling ads directly, like you're selling your only banner space and you're reaching out to local businesses, place a no follow on them. And that way you won't leak anything. Of course, your advertiser won't want to know about that. Oftentimes when people buy an ad, they want that SEO juice. I've been in situations personally where I've bought in banner space and I was kind of expecting it to be a follow link, and when it wasn't, I was a little kerfuffled, but I knew that the webmaster was following best practices and that you should generally no follow your ads. If you don't no follow your ads, you will leak juice, and especially if they're text link ads, you could get penalized for selling text links, which is bad news all over. It's okay to sell text links as long as they're no followed. But yeah, pretty much if your ad's not redirecting through something or is not generated by JavaScript, slap a no follow link on it. If your advertiser was expecting it to be a do follow link, that's something you're going to have to work out with them. I got 5 more minutes if anyone else wants to pick my brain. Yes, sir?
Could be the dumbest question. You were talking about having blocking the tags from indexing.
Yeah.
What would be the benefit or deficit of doing the opposite of not following categories?
And following tags? I do know some people who do that, and it'll depend on the site and the topic and the content they're focusing on. In my experience, it's exception rather than the rule. You can do it. I think what's problematic with tags is because tags are ad hoc and you're just always adding new tags as time goes on. New names, new products, all kinds of new idiosyncrasies enter. Oftentimes a tag will just have the one article in it, under it, or rather the tag will just be attended to the one article. And on top of that, you're always having to SEO a new tag. So you've got to write, a new page title, a new meta description, a new header, and a new unique piece of content for every tag. And it can become very resource intensive. So generally what you want to do is go with the conventional models where your categories make up your core taxonomy, focus on them, do a really great job on your categories. The chances of you adding or killing a category are much slimmer. Usually you can fit something into an existing category. Use the tags for navigation. They're great for helping users find things, but really they're there for a usability thing. And yeah, you can go the other route. I know people who do it successfully. It's much more time intensive. So I generally would recommend trying to find a workaround if for whatever reason you're really committed to following the tag and no following the categories. Yep.
Do you have any advice on SEO for videos?
Yeah, a number of things you can do with videos, and I actually used to do SEO videos when video was a little bit newer. Okay, so I'll start from the beginning. Is when you actually compress the video, there's ways you can add meta information to the file, and that will vary depending on the video editor you're using. But pretty much no matter where that video exists on the web, whether you're like literally embedding a .mov or .wmv file onto a HTML page or uploading it somewhere, the video will always contain some core information. When it comes to uploading videos to hosting and sharing sites, typical things. Get a keyword targeted title, write a solid 250-word description with keywords in there, don't make it too spammy. And every video hosting, well, most video hosting sites let you append tags. Use keyword relevant tags. Video is a funny thing. If I'm saying if you absolutely, no matter what, want your videos to be found and seen through search engines, YouTube and Vimeo. Vimeo is a little bit harder because they have very stringent guidelines, but those sites are the best way to have videos discovered. If your goal through video optimization is to draw traffic back to your site, it's a very challenging endeavor. You're going to have to go back to the meta info that's part of the core file and embedding it on your site. But generally, if you can brand the video properly and you're working with someone who really knows how to produce video for the web well, or if someone that can actually watch it on YouTube or Vimeo and come back to your site, work with them, embed it back on your site, and on the page you embed it on, SEO the crap out of that page for keyword plus video and add a lot of text, and you should be able to drive people through. You're just going to have to accept the chances are if you are using a free host like YouTube or Video, there'll probably be 1 or 2 spots on top of you in the search engine results. It's just the way it is. I think that one of the reasons, my conspiracy theory is one of the reasons Google bought YouTube was to prevent SEOs from getting into the video game the way they did with the text game. How am I for time? 1 more minute. I can take 1 more if anyone has anything. No? Okay, I got 2 more. I think your hand went up first, so I'm going to go with this gentleman here.
Any suggestions of coming up with ideas for content, like with your Sherwood example?
You're going to have to think a little bit outside of the box and be edgy, and I know that sounds like really fluffy advice, but you'll have a core competency. So then you'll look at these communities where you want to push the content, and you're like, okay, let's say, for example, top 5 and 10 lists are popular here, or how-tos are popular here. How can I spin my content within that framework? Especially if you're into writing very niche expert kind of articles, very serious stuff, it can become difficult, but you're just going to have to be willing to break from your traditional editorial guideline or content strategy, knowing that your end goal is, if anything, to drive traffic, but more importantly, create authoritative pages on your site. Because like I said, when you do successfully push something through these networks, in my experience, it can lead to 100 to 200 backlinks to that piece of content. There's social media backlinks. They're coming from people's Dig and Reddit profiles, but still, when you have 200 of them, it matters. And next page rank update, you have another page that has a page rank of 2, 3, 4. And I'm out of time, but if any of you have any other questions, just come up and chat with me. Thank you very much for coming out.